Hi everyone. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about study skills and how you're able to further develop them. I'm going to talk to you about how you can recognize your personal learning style, how you can develop a personalized study plan by using that learning style information, and then I'm going to provide you with other general study skill tips that will help you reach your academic goals. I hear it all the time. As long as I get a decent grade after cramming all of this information into my brain last minute, I'll be happy. The unfortunate thing is, many of the people who think this way are wasting time, underperforming, and not helping themselves in the long run. Study skills are important for many reasons, but there's one reason I'd like to highlight. When you develop study skills, you're able to study smarter, not harder. You get things done quicker, retain more information, and receive better results. Studying is a lot like playing sports. Doing well at a sport takes practice, but that practice leads to winning games and increased motivation to keep working hard. You can apply that exact same concept to studying. When you study well, receive great grades, and you're motivated to continue on that path towards success. With great study skills, you spend a lot less time sitting in the library, you have more free time, and you get better grades. Further, the information you learn in college isn't just important for passing your classes. It's also a vital component of being successful in your future career. So let's get into the first thing you should understand about study skills, which is to make sure you're studying in ways that work best for you personally. Many students tend to bring their studying methods from high school with them to college, and unfortunately that doesn't always work. High school is completely different from college, as most of you know, and that includes the study skills needed to succeed. One of the things that helps a lot of people is figuring out their learning style and developing a personalized study plan that works best for them. The reason this is important is because study methods don't work the same for everyone. If your current study methods are what you've learned from high school, or maybe you study the same way your friends do, there's a pretty high chance you're not maximizing your potential. Some people easily retain information they read, some may easily retain information they hear, and others may need to rewrite the information they read on another sheet of paper to activate memory recall. So let's get into how you figure out the way you personally retain information the best. I'm going to talk about the 3 major learning styles. There are more, but these are the main ones that typically apply to everyone when it comes to remembering what you learn. The first is visual, which means you need to see material in order to learn it. Second is auditory, which means you need to hear the material. Third is kinesthetic, which means you need to physically move while learning. I'll explain each of these more in depth. Visual learners prefer to see material in order to learn it. The strengths of the visual learners include the ability to instinctively follow directions, easily visualize objects, they have a great sense of balance and alignment, and they're excellent organizers. Visual learners learn best by studying notes on whiteboards, where mind maps, pictures, graphs, etc. can be drawn and where the words are generally bigger, marking up material such as handouts in your notes with highlighters, and other visually stimulating objects is extremely helpful. Visual learners are also great at retaining information from reading, but not very good at remembering what they hear, so it's extra important to read before class and while studying. Lastly, studying alone in a quiet place is something visual learners need. It's common for visual learners to become stimulated by busy environments, so studying alone really helps them remain focused. Auditory learners need to hear information to learn. They're great at retaining information from lecture classes, videos, and podcasts. Some of their strengths include writing responses to lectures, oral exams, storytelling, solving difficult problems, and working in groups. They learn best by participating vocally in class, making recordings of class notes and listening to them, reading assignments and textbook content out loud, and then studying with a partner or group. The reason that studying with a partner or group is really good for auditory learners is because they can engage in conversation with their peers. When they're engaging in conversation with their peers, they are open to new ideas, and the information that is being stated by other individuals is retained within auditory learner memory. Kinesthetic learners are very different from visual and auditory learners. They typically want to move around while they're learning. Their strengths include great hand-eye coordination, quick reception, experimenting, sports, art, and drama. They also have high levels of energy, which makes it kind of difficult to sit down and focus for long periods of time. They learn best by conducting experiments, acting out in a play or class concept, studying while standing or moving, doodling during lectures, and studying while performing an athletic activity. Knowing your learning style is the first and most important step to developing your own personal study plan. Even if you've previously taken a test to identify your learning style, I strongly encourage you to take one again. This is a link to a great website which contains a self-assessment for identifying your learning styles. Please either write it down so you can take it later, or go ahead and copy and paste the link into your browser so you can figure out what your personal learning style is. One of the keys to effective studying is finding a good location. It's difficult to study in a room full of distractions. However, the ideal location for you may not be the ideal study location for someone else. You may not like studying somewhere private or in complete silence, but you do want to make sure that you study at a location that is conducive to your method of learning, allows you to concentrate, and is free of distractions. If you find your own house or apartment to be a great study space, that's great, as long as your living space doesn't distract you. The library can be great for anyone, especially since there are quiet areas, busy areas for those who like background noise, and study rooms to put you in a private but motivating space. It may take some experimenting for you to identify which study space works best for you, so definitely try out different spaces so you can find your favorite. Although it may seem repetitive, it's beneficial to establish a studying routine. This will get you into the habit of studying, and before you know it, motivation to study will come naturally. When you're experimenting with finding a place to study best, I recommend also figuring out what time of the day each day you'll sit down to complete assignments and review for upcoming tests, quizzes, etc. Think of it as an extra class period that lasts around 2 hours a day during the week. When you sit down for those extra 2 hours a day, you're developing a great habit and creating more free time for later without stressing over missing assignments or having to cram for exams. Also keep in mind that if you're sitting down for 2 hours a day during the week, even if you don't have urgent assignments to complete, you're able to work ahead. Working ahead is one of the most satisfying feelings because you eliminate procrastination and the stress that comes along with it. Some things that will help you get organized include utilizing your smartphone by using a scheduling app like Pocket Schedule Planner. Pocket Schedule Planner is just one of the apps which organizes your tests and assignments for classes by their due dates and allows you to check them off as you complete them. The app also sends you reminders so you don't miss or forget anything. Your course schedules will always be easily accessible, and you can even add your professor's contact information so you don't have to search through the syllabus when you have questions or need help. Next, utilize a computer program like Evernote or Microsoft OneNote, which lets you type up notes, organize them into different notebooks, add voice recordings, attachments, and highlight content. You can easily search for terms within your notes instead of flipping through your notebooks forever, and you can easily create study guides. These programs are easily accessible from anywhere on any device, so there's no need to stress over making sure you have all of your study materials. You can show up at the library without anything, log into Evernote where all of your notes and resources will appear. Next, use colored pens and highlighters when taking notes. Marking up handouts, writing in your textbook, anything like that. It's proven that people will remember words written in blue better, so highlight important content with a blue highlighter or rewrite important concepts with a blue pen. This is a great method to help improve your recall memory. Lastly, have different folders for each class so you can easily keep handouts, study guides, return quizzes, and other materials that will help you study. There's no better study material than what your professor provides you with throughout the semester. One thing I specifically did when studying for business calculus was to use the return quizzes and study guides my professor provided. I would cover the answers to each problem with sticky notes and continuously solve the problem on each sticky note. I could then easily flip up the sticky note to ensure I solved the problem correctly or easily compare my mistakes to the right answer. There are a few common study pitfalls I want to bring to your attention and ways to avoid them. The first is cramming the night before. Compared to high school, college tests and exams are typically spread further apart. This means there will be a lot of material to cover for each test. Instead of trying to cover everything the night before, which doesn't lead to long-term learning and prevents you from getting a good night's rest, begin your test review at least a few days before the exam. I specifically recommend preparing 1 to 2 weeks before the actual exam and simply adding 30 minutes to an hour to your regular study schedule during the week. If you don't have any assignments due and you're just studying for finals, I recommend setting aside 3 hours a day, 2 weeks before your exam. As long as you're staying focused and utilizing that time properly, you'll get everything done in that time. Second, not getting extra help. It's not surprising that students have trouble grasping new material for the first time they receive exposure to it. Sometimes it takes a few tries to learn it or an alternative teaching method before it clicks. Find a tutor, use a study buddy, or meet with the professor during office hours to get extra help. Do it well before the test also. I can absolutely promise you that tutoring sessions and office hours are some of the best resources that you can take advantage of when it comes to studying. The tutors are able to help you with specific things you're struggling with and explain it in a simplified manner. Professors can do this too, and often they can do it even better than the tutors, as they're the ones teaching your course. If you're struggling and not taking advantage of those two resources, you're truly missing out on easy success. Professors will often even read over take-home assignments before you finally submit them to ensure you get the best grade possible, so keep that in mind. Third, allowing study groups to turn into social groups. It's easy for a study group session to turn into a social event if group members don't remind themselves to go over the course material. Set an agenda before the meeting begins and have a deadline to help stay on task. Otherwise, it's very easy for the group to meet for 3 hours and only spend 45 minutes actually going over the material. One of the best tools to use when it comes to keeping group study sessions focused is a group app called Flora. You and the rest of your group members sign into Flora and join a group within the app. You all plant a tree, and if anyone breaks their focus and uses their cell phone during the meeting, the tree dies and the rest of the group and all of your social media friends are notified that you killed the tree by breaking your focus. It's kind of a fun challenge and really does help, so give it a try if you have a group project meetings that are struggling a bit. Fourth, giving in to distractions. The solution to this pitfall will depend on what kind of distractions are preventing studying from taking place. Turning off the television, radio, or phone might be adequate. However, you might need to also turn off your computer or find a study cubicle in the silent section of the library where it's extremely quiet. If you don't like complete silence and want to listen to music, stay away from music with lyrics. It doesn't have to be classical music, but there are many movie scores or instrumentals of your favorite songs available on iTunes Music, Spotify, and YouTube. If I'm trying to get work done while studying focused and motivated, instrumental music is an absolute must for me. Without it, I end up wasting time staring at a wall or watching others around me. Fifth, not getting enough sleep. Staying up all night and sleeping in until noon is a rite of passage in college. However, to get the most out of studying, you should limit this type of sleep pattern during the week. Studying is most effective when you get enough rest the night before. This might mean not going out as often or taking 2 days to binge watch an entire season of your favorite television show, but you'll notice a difference when you study. The weekends are dedicated to having fun, going out, staying up all night, and sleeping all day, but I highly advise all of you to ensure that this isn't happening during the week. It's amazing how different and better you feel and perform when you're able to go to bed by midnight and wake up around 8 or 9 a.m. This is even more possible when you spend that dedicated 2 to 3 hours a day in the library or a study room completing your assignments. After your classes and study time is over during the day, you're able to go to work or just hang out and do whatever you want for the rest of the day. It's extremely freeing when you're done with everything before dinner, or maybe a little later depending on your class and work schedule, and can just relax before going to bed at a decent time. This is an extra important concept to remember as finals for the semester approach. Once you understand your personal learning style, find a place to study, schedule a time to complete your work, organize your class resources by using apps and computer programs to improve your studying efficiency, then recognize and avoid the common studying pitfalls, you're on the path to great academic success. It's best if you sit down and figure out the things you personally struggle with when it comes to studying, then identify ways to combat those difficulties. The important thing to remember is that what works for someone else may not work at all for you. So experiment and learn how you can personally work best.